welcome back, and we're happy to be with you again. I'm President Mark Scheinberg, and this is our Provost Danielle Wilkin, and we're here just to give you an update about what's happening at the school. First of all, we miss you guys. It's not a college or a university unless it has students, and so we know you're out there and we're keeping track of you, but it's not the same. Things have changed week by week, and right now the whole world is talking about how you go back to work, how you go back to school. What is that going to look like? We've been given guidance by the state of Connecticut and by the CDC about how to go about bringing students back. And we're going to be doing that in as safe a method as we can. The last thing we want to do is to put you at risk or have you feel at risk. The way that the state is having us put together the process of coming back to the university is in looking at 4 buckets. The first one is repopulation itself. How are we going to phase when people are coming back? The second thing that you have to look at is monitoring. Once you come back here, how can we be sure that we can keep you safe every day that you're here? The third thing we have to look at is containment. And the fourth thing is to keep in mind that we're going to have to think about, in case there is a spike that they talk about, in case the disease comes back in some form, what are you going to do? How are you going to shut this place down again? So those are the things that we are wrestling with, and we're not supposed to know all the answers immediately, but we have to at least know step by step how we're going to go about it. So as I said, the first thing we're going to look at is the repopulation of the university itself, and that's being done in phases. The first phase of the reopening of the entire state is where people are finally going back and doing outdoor dining and going back into certain stores and certain offices. 1B, and I have no idea why they call it 1B, but 1B is for colleges. How are we setting ourselves up so that people who are commuter students going into laboratories or going to simulations or whatever, what is that going to look like? And when more students come in and it becomes much more open to general students, and then that's how we're sort of settling into how we're supposed to repopulate the university. To make that more clear, I'm going to turn it over to our provost, who will break down a little bit about what it looks like when we come back to school.
So as President Scheinberg said, the first phase is repopulation. We have made the decision to keep all courses online for the summer, with the exception of professional courses with a hands-on component. On June 1st, we will begin bringing back students only for laboratories for histology, welding, CNC, and quality. The next group of students to come back will be a select group of nursing students who will begin on campus in the nursing lab on June 15th. Finally, on July 1st, we will bring back medical assisting, occupational therapy assistant, and dental hygiene students as our repopulation begins.
And keep in mind that everything we just said, because I'm fearing that people are watching this and trying to write things down, everything that we're telling you is going to come to you in an email so you can look at it at some length. So at that point, we have people back in the buildings and back on the campus. And so the next thing that we have to look at is how are we going to monitor you to make sure we're keeping you safe as you come in. And there's a number of ways that we're trying to do that.
These procedures are already in place for those of us who are on campus right now. You must come into the building with an ID, and for students, there will be rosters for classes and times that you must match your time against. Every student and every person entering the building will have their temperature checked. You must complete a self-assessment before you come to campus, and you must wear a mask and maintain social distancing.
And I know some of that is problematic, but it's worth it. We're not going to let it happen that anyone feels unsafe being here. So it's a good thing just to keep in mind that when you come to school next, have a mask on you. You'll also notice that there are a lot of people that won't be coming back to school, and that's good too. We don't want to put you into a dangerous situation if we have any other choice. The next bucket is the issue about containment. So let's assume that somebody's in some way symptomatic. What happens then?
So just as a reminder, we have been using a COVID exposure form that is found on our website since this pandemic began. Any student who experiences exposure should be completing that form, and Student Affairs will follow up with you. For students who come to campus and are running a temperature of 100.4 or greater, they will be sent home so that they can self-monitor for 72 hours and be in consultation with their physician. If a student is known to have developed a positive COVID-19 test, the student will be required to work with their physician and stay at home until they have a negative test. We're doing everything we can to make sure that this virus is not on campus and that you are not exposed.
As far as universities go, we're in better shape than many. Most universities, as you know, are residential facilities. In those places, you have a lot of people living in a pretty small area, and so there's much more worry about transmission of a disease like this. For us, in a commuter situation, it's more akin to if you were working at an office or if you were working at some other kind of place that it is relatively more safe. And so we're trying to, even with that, feather people in so that there's even less possibility of any exposure. And ultimately, if things do go wrong, not so much internally, but in the world itself that we're at, if we have to shut down, it will probably look something like what you went through earlier in this year, hopefully not quite as abrupt, but we'll take other measures to make sure that we are keeping you as safe as possible.
Yes, and just as a reminder for all students, our Student Affairs and faculty and advisors are here to support you. If you are struggling with your classes, if you're struggling with resources, please reach out to us so that we can help you navigate this semester successfully.
The thing you have to try to remember is that while there's a lot of information that we just gave you, you'll get a lot more in an email that you can take your time and read. And if anything is confusing for you, because it's a lot of information, feel free to call Student Affairs or call anybody at the institution, and we will help walk you through this. It's not a perfect science and it's not a perfect plan, so things can change day to day. This is what it looks like today. And as we learn more and as we're giving more direction, we will then pass that off to you and try to make this more right. Regardless, we're trying to do this again as safely as we can for you so that you can have confidence when you leave your house and come here to your classes or labs that you're coming into a safe environment that's taking care of you and your family. We know how difficult this is for you guys at home. It's difficult for us here. It's difficult for everyone living through this. And we will make sure that we are keeping you in the top of our mind at all times. I wish you all continued health, continued safety, and we will all get through this together. Thank you for your understanding, and we will be back to you if we have any more news.
Thank you.